Pretty much came out of the blue, the whole thing.
Okay.
But of course there were some signs, like on tour. It would clearly say that he wasn't in a happy place.
He was in the band for a long time, so I could just say that his journey came to an end quite naturally.
I never saw that coming. It was right behind the corner. I never seen that. It was like, really? What? But I remember Hella and Mana was like, yeah, it was expected. Like,
I didn't see it, you know.
Yeah.
I just didn't see the signs. No, not at all.
On the 23rd of August 2019, Ox, Lordi's bassist of 14 years, left the band. While his final performance at Reload Festival in Solingen, Germany was announced before his departure, his decision came as a surprise to both Mr. Lordi and Eamon, but not for Mana and Hella in hindsight. But of course, with the exit of the hellbull, the arrival of the reptroll would be around the corner. Join me as we delve into the final documentary style episode of Monstars of Rock as we discuss Killection. You're listening to Season 3 of Monstars of Rock, The Lordi Story. I'm your host, Matthew Kessie, and this is Episode 3, Killection. Between the years of 2012 and 2019, Lordi's lineup was unchanged. This period would be, and up to this point is, the longest lasting lineup in Lordi's history. And when you look at the musical direction of the group, it was certainly a diverse 7 years. So when Ox decided to leave the band, it came as quite a shock to Eamon and Mr. Lordi.
to me, and I think for Mr. Lordi, it was like, huh? But then, for Hella and Mana, it wasn't a surprise.
Okay.
And for some crew members, it wasn't a surprise. So, you do the math.
Okay.
So maybe me and Tommy are two blue-eyed guys, or however you want to call us. And I had really good time, you know, with Ox so many years. And yeah, sometimes he had his bad moods and whatever, but who doesn't?
Yeah.
So I never saw that coming. It was right behind the corner. I never seen that. It was like, really? What? But I remember Hella and Mana was like, yeah, it was expected, like, you know, and we're like, what? So,
Okay.
yeah, so I don't know what to say, but yeah, it was a surprise for me.
For me personally, it was a big fucking surprise. I did not see that coming. I had no fucking idea. That came out of the blue sky to me. I didn't see it. You know.
Yeah.
I just didn't see the signs. No, not at all.
Right.
Not at all.
Okay.
I was not prepared for that. But then again, I'm never prepared for anything if somebody's about to leave, unless it's something that I want them to.
Yeah.
I want it to happen. But if somebody is leaving from their own will and they're not talking about it, let's say, like, for example, our Lena back in the days. I mean, she was talking about it, so you knew that something might gonna happen. Or same thing with Kalma back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, so people who are like gonna leave. I mean, they start talking about, but people are different personalities. They have different personalities, and they deal with these plans in different ways. Some people talk about it openly, and some people keep it in. Keep it in. Like with Kira, for example. I told you the story. I mean, he didn't say anything, and he didn't want to leave the band. That's the thing. That's the main thing here. But I had to let him go, because I mean, and whereas like let's say Ox goes. I mean, he wanted to leave the band, but I had no clue. I had no idea. Even though I'm not sure if Eamon told you already, but this is something that I know that Eamon told me, that some of the crew guys told him that they were like, whoa, that was a long time coming. That the crew guys knew this already. They have seen it already before. They saw something in his behavior or whatever that they knew already. That they were surprised that Summer was there for so long. And that was surprising to me and to Eamon. It was like, oh, really?
Okay.
Hella and Mana's perspective, though, on this is entirely different to Mr. Lordi and Eamon's. On reflection, both of them seen Ox's departure coming for quite a while.
Kind of how you always say in a relationship that grew apart or something like that. So it was really like without any big drama or anything like that. Like
it's just natural.
And like we saw it coming, so it didn't
shock you,
come to as a surprise then to anyone when he announced that he's going to leave, and he was fair enough to tell it to everyone like a good amount of time in advance, so we got to prepare for, like, we had a lot of time to adjust with the idea before going to the studio with the next album, and we still keep in touch.
Basically, I had no idea until he called or announced that he's going to leave.
Right.
So that pretty much came out of the blue, the whole thing.
Okay.
But of course, there were some signs, like on tour. It clearly say that he wasn't in a happy place.
Okay.
You know? So maybe now I can see some signs that was coming.
Yeah.
So he wasn't enjoying it as much as he had. Maybe.
Following Ox's departure, he went on to record his own solo album under his real name, Samir El Nahal. With his path then leading in a new direction, a vacancy would become available in Lordi, and the band weren't slow in finding a bassist for the 10th Lordi album.
We started to search for bass players immediately when we got the word, of course.
Yeah.
I think when we had the audition with HIISI, it was maybe like 1 month after Ox said he's gonna leave. So it wasn't that long.
It was pretty much the same. Well, once again, same thing with Otis. You know, when he passed away, within 24 hours, I was already on the search. You know, and HIISI was the first guy that came to my mind, and I knew that there are some. We had some mutual friends, and especially Mana knew some of his friends, so it was easy. I mean, easy. Yeah. So I was just like, well, get me his number, and I got his number, and I called him. There were a few other names that we were thinking as a plan B,
right,
but not even sure did we even call them. At least I didn't, you know. Right. So, yeah, I mean, he was our first choice, and he said yes. But did I already tell you how it actually went down?
No, didn't.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I called him.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, cool, thank you, that's awesome. All right. And then we, well, there's this one thing that we still need to do, which means that we have to go to our rehearsal loft and play a little. Of course, I mean, we knew how he plays, but there were still some things that we really needed to find out if we have the chemistry between the five of us while we're playing. Because it doesn't matter, even you could be the world's best fucking player, but if you don't have the chemistry with the others, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't feel right or sound right. So he came to the rehearsal loft. There were a few songs that we played. Just talking bullshit. Everything was, everybody was in a good mood, and everything was fun, and everything was like, all right. Everything was very positive. And I said, yeah, well, all right, cool. Well, let's see. It looks good. Yes. All right. Bye-bye. Everybody went back home. And here's again another example of me not being a very informative guy.
Right.
So I got back immediately when I got back home. I got back on continuing recording the demos for Killection. Yeah. So and HIISI went home, and everybody went to their homes, and then another day goes by, and another day turns into a week, and then for a month, and and then I get this. Every once in a while, there's Mana who's calling me and asking that, have you talked to HIISI at all? I mean, does he know that he's in the band? I was like, yeah, I'm sure he knows. I mean, yeah. But I mean, I'm busy now with the demos. I have a deadline here. So, yeah. But I mean, just thinking that, is he aware? He's like, yeah, but I mean, come on. He was there with us, so I think it was clear. And then I guess it was like one and a half months later when he calls me very shyly, like, hi, so I'll just ask you that, have you made the decision? Am I in the band? I'm like, what? Sure. Yeah, you're in the band. What the fuck? Yeah, because I guess you said you will call me, but you never did. Oh, sorry, dude. Yes, you are in the band. You have been in the band since we were at the rehearsal last. But I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you. Yeah, yes, you are and already have been in the band for fucking 6 weeks. Yeah. And he was like, okay, thank you. I've been like losing sleep over this. Like, well, sorry, welcome to the band. That's how I roll. It's like if in doubt, please call me and ask.
HIISI's arrival into the band would be the final piece of the puzzle for what would be a remarkable project in Killection. But before we move on to that, we need to look at HIISI's own musical background. And just as a little fact for you all, this was HIISI's first ever interview.
How did you get into music? Can you remember the first song or the first band that you got into?
Actually, I think it was Kiss.
Right. Okay.
Surprise, yeah. I was in the daycare, 5 or 6 years old,
right.
Little guy, and we play Kiss there with my friends.
Okay.
Yeah. Running out there and jump like a crazy, rock stars jumps, and we have some sticks in our hands, just like bass and guitar. That's kind of thing. Yeah. I think that's my earliest.
Okay, and were Kiss the inspiration for you then to want to play music?
Yeah. Kiss, and of course, because I'm a bass player, there's lots of cool bass players in this world, like Cliff Burton. He's so cool because I play bass. I like that rhythm and that kind of stuff. There's a funk bass players, and Stanley Clarke and Jaco Pastorius, and so many good bass players.
And when you got into the bass, can you remember how old you were when you started to pick it up and to play?
Yeah, I think I was I think I was 12 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And what was why the bass and not another instrument? What was it that drew you towards that instrument?
Actually, there's a group of young guys, and I was one of those guys, and we decided to make band and start the band, and and the bass was left.
Right.
And I think, and then I said, maybe I should take that bass because thank God.
Before you joined Lordi, then were you in many bands before that?
It's so many bands, and still I have. I think I have five bands
currently going at the moment.
Yeah.
Nice.
But they are not that active, you know.
As Lordi would be.
Yeah.
Okay, and
of course, Lordi is first #1 band right now.
HIISI, after being contacted by Mr. Lordi and completing his tryout, obviously went through an arduous wait then to find out if he was in the band. And from his side of things, it was a long month and a bit.
When I spoke to Mr. Lordi and Mana, they both said that you did the tryout and then you didn't hear for a long time, and you were wondering whether, am I in the band? Am I not in the band?
Yeah, but that 1 month, it's quite a long time to hear nothing. and then I put some message to Mana that what about? Was it good or so bad, or what was it?
When HIISI eventually joined the band, he actually had to change his playing style. He previously picked the bass with his fingers, but now needed to change to using a plectrum, which HIISI says was down to the sound that Mr. Lordi was looking for.
Yeah, it's a you know, the concept. Mr. Lordi wants that big sound to this bass, or he said that you can play with your fingers, but you have to have steel fingers or something like that.
To make the same sound almost.
Yeah. Because of the sound.
Yeah.
And Mr. Lordi knows what he wants in the Lordi music.
With HIISI firmly in the band, now came the recording of the album. But this wouldn't be a normal Lordi album. It would be the culmination of years of musical evolution up to this point. And the reason why it wasn't normal as well is that Killection was a fictional compilation album, a record which proposed the idea of what if Lordi had been around since the 1970s, and the music had evolved through most of the metal and rock trends of the preceding decades up to the modern age.
The idea for this was already there for sexorcism, and with sexorcism it was I already had most of the songs written, if not all, even. But I was stupid. I thought it the wrong. I was thinking about it the wrong way. So I thought that, okay, well, let's do this. That this whole sexorcism would be that there would be this like a subtitle that says documented phenomenons or documented cases or something like that. That sexorcism documented phenomenon cases or whatever, you know, and all these little stories of sexorcism happening all around the world in different places with demons and Lordi monsters and shit like that. So that would have been the concept of the album of sexorcism, that they would be well, from, you know, and they from different times, and then they would also sound different, you know, and that was the idea. And I thought that, well, I just select, let's say the beast is yet to come, and that song we would make it that it's done in 1979, and then I realized that it's not going to work like that. A song like The Beast Is Yet to Come cannot be done in the 70s or even in the 80s. That kind of a song could not have been written in that time. Even if it would have the 70s sound, it would not sound like a 70s song because the writing is completely different. There are a lot of ideas and a lot of things and a lot of patterns that are in the song that were not invented yet. Nobody was doing that at the time. So that would mean that it wouldn't sound authentic. It wouldn't sound real. So I called Mikko Karmila, the producer of Sexism. I said, well, let's just do with the normal metal sound this album because this is not going to work. And he said, fine, sure, all right, okay. And I remember when I had that call because it was something that the starting date for the studio was already there. So it was like pretty close to the starting of the beginning of the recordings of Sexism already when I decided to pull the handbrake. Like, no. Let's say I'm gonna save this for the 10th album,
Yeah.
Because we need more time. And I remember we spoke with Mikko about this whole idea even after Sexism was done. We talked about it that could we do the whole album like this, that every single song would sound different, and and he said sure. And I'm sure that he could have done it on his own. But here's the thing. I had to make sure that this works. So I had to, be sure about every single angle and corner of this thing. I had to make it sure. So it means that even though Mikko, for example, is a great fucking producer and very, well known and very respected and a high professional as they come, but still he has his mannerisms. He has his manners that he does when he's producing a band, when he's recording and when he's mixing. He has these things that he thinks are the best. That makes it the Mikko Karmila sound.
Yeah.
And I thought that, okay, if the same guy, it could have been other guy too than Mikko Karmila. It could have been somebody else too. But if the same guy is trying to do 10 different sounds, it is bound to have some mannerisms from the engineer, the mixer, the producer. It's gonna have it's going to have something that he makes a decision over the concept, that is like, well, I don't like the snare sound sounding like this, so I'm just going to make it like this. Yeah. Which means that it's closer to the sound that he usually does. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what it is. You can talk about the snare sound or a bass sound or an overall mixing of the song. You will, of course, you will do whatever you need to do to make it sound good to you, right? And whenever you are hiring somebody, you are taking somebody in your team, so to speak, whether it's a guy who's mixing it or recording it or engineering it or producing it or mastering it. You are buying not only the work, but you are buying their vision also and their sound. So I thought that, okay, we need different guys. We need different guys mixing every song and different guys recording every song. And I'm going to produce this album because otherwise this is not going to. This is going to fall apart. Because this is otherwise they will have some similarities in the sounds. No matter what we're going to do, they're going to have that, Yeah. And I believe, of course, we don't have any comparison at the moment. We don't, because we didn't do it like that. We didn't do it with one person. But I believe that I was right.
With Mr. Lordi's decision being to produce the album himself, the band travel around Finland to different studios to ensure that each song on Killection had that distinctive sound that it required.
From my point of view, it was a little bit weird. Like it felt so messy because you were so used to always doing it the way that you get yourself into this like studio mode. So okay, these are the 2 weeks we have the recording, so you kind of the whole rest of the world stops running and you get yourself into that little studio bubble, and then you stay there, and that's where you concentrate, and you see the album as a big picture there all the time, because when you're recording everything, you listen through the whole thing. The concept is a package,
right?
In a normal situation, but now that it was like split, even like the idea was split, but also the physical being in the studio time was split. There was sometimes even a month in between different sessions, and then pieces there and there recorded separately somewhere where I wasn't even there, and so it felt like, what the heck is going on? And like, I personally lost the big picture on the way.
Right.
That I was like, at some point, like, I have no idea what's going on with this album. Like what is it gonna be like? And then it was very, not a surprise, but very exciting, and very like the first time I got to hear the full package, then when it was ready. Because like along the way, you maybe heard some, mixing versions there and whatever, but you didn't form in your head like the album.
Hella's experience wasn't unique to her, as other members in the band felt the same, and the level of work involved in the record was also immense too, and especially in terms of logistics, as Mana says here.
It was like the whole summer of 2019 we did it. It was a huge work, and at some points there were like moments that like, fuck, it's never gonna end. Just because we had to make the songs in different studios. I had to arrange different drum kits, different drum skins, and whatever, and it was all over Finland. So logistic-wise, it was a huge fucking challenge, and the hassle, and it was nerve-wracking. So it wasn't fun all the time.
Okay.
But I think the result is it's a really good album.
Yeah, it's very unique.
Worth of all the hassle.
Yeah. And one thing, because I was so surprised when I'd first heard it, because I got the press release copy of it when it was coming out, and I was astounded at how you guys were actually able to capture the different sounds, and especially when you look at like Blow My Fuse on Bimbo, I was just amazed of the sound of them, because they literally were just like a time capsule of different eras. So that must have been extremely difficult to try and get that.
Yeah, well, so it's always about the people who you work with. If you find the right people, like we did with the 70s songs, it was of course it was in Tampere, which is the best city in Finland.
Yeah.
It was in a studio called JJ Studio, and it has been at the same place from 1981. It's basically every legendary Finnish rock, old school rock bands there.
Okay.
Legendary albums there.
Right.
And I have known the studio guy many years.
Okay.
So it was my idea to go there, and it's all analog studio. There's no computers. And the guy didn't even have a cellular phone until like 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he doesn't use any emails or whatever. He doesn't know how to operate a computer.
Okay.
So it's like really, really old school. And when we started to talk about the sound that we want, he was like immediately like knew what he had to do.
Right.
And he had the mics, and I had a Ludwig drum kit from the 70s. It was like 74 or 5, something like that. So the sound was immediately like spot on.
Okay.
It was there. We didn't have to work a lot. So it's always like you have to find the right people who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
That made it happen.
With Killection containing an eclectic mix of rock and metal genres, the band would clearly take influence from some of their idols. And one of Eamon's idols, Jean Beauvoir, actually came to Finland and wrote an original song titled Scream Demon with Eamon and Mr. Lordi.
There was this one guy who told me back in the days, why don't you ever work with Jean Beauvoir? I don't know how to say Jean Beauvoir. To me it's Jean Beauvoir, but you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, how come on. How, come on, how? And it was like, yeah, I can connect you guys. And I'm like, yeah, you know him? Yeah, I know him. So long story short. And then I was in touch with him, with John, it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I still have all the emails with me, and I wrote him an email, and hey, it's me from Finland. We did this and that, and come on, I know this guy is your friend, and he gave me your email address, and I don't know, but maybe you want to hook up, and maybe someday we can write something together. I don't know, or let's just have a beer. Or it took I don't know, 8 months or 10 months or something. I didn't hear anything, and then suddenly, boom! I'm like, hey, John! And it was he's the guy. I can write a book about him. He's like, wow. So he's like Miami guy, full of energy, and it was like awesome. It's so he was like really into it, and then we made a phone call meeting, and I was really nervous because Jean Beauvoir and Paul Stanley wrote probably the most meaningful song ever on this planet for me, Thrills in the Night. And I was like, am I really going to have a phone call with Jean Beauvoir? And yeah, I remember I was so fucking nervous and sweating. My armpits were so sweaty and my back was sweating, and I was just sweating. So something he said during that phone call about Paul. Yeah, I have a call. I have a Paul song. Maybe that's good for you guys. And I'm like, I don't know what you. Maybe Paul who? Yeah, Paul. Come on, yeah. And it's like this, Americans. Yeah. Boom. And then I hang up, and I called Mr. Lordi, and something like this happened, and I never said anything about the Paul.
Jean Beauvoir would write Scream Demon and 6 yet-to-be-released songs with Eamon and Mr. Lordi, one of which you'll hear on LORDIVERSITY, which is the title track of Humanimals. However, that song that Eamon was just referring to was like a bee to the honey, a song which John and Paul Stanley of KISS co-wrote but never released. And Lordi, after being offered this opportunity, took it and ran with it. And after nearly 30 years of existing as a concept and being directly influenced by them, Lordi would record an unreleased song that wouldn't be out of place on any KISS record.
Eamon and Jean were friends on email or whatever, maybe on social media or something like that, because Eamon is a huge fan of Jean. And then they've been talking over the years that they should meet and maybe they should even write together. And then Jean, wrote to Eamon that he's coming to Finland for a KISS Expo, that maybe we should hook up. you know. And Eamon said, yeah. And Eamon called me that, hey, dude, you want to join us? I said, fuck yeah, I'm going to go to the Kiss Expo anyway. It's a Kiss Expo, for God's sakes, you know. Yeah. So eventually, it turns out, you know, I go to the Kiss Expo, but Eamon doesn't actually. Funnily enough, so I meet John there, and the next day after the Kiss Expo, we go to a rehearsal loft, and of course, before this already happened, I was already in contact with John too. That okay, we're gonna write some songs and blah 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 blah, all that stuff. And I told him what we're about to do, what kind of an album we're doing, what's the concept. And when he came, and we were driving to a rehearsal loft, he said, yeah. I know what kind of songs we're about to, you know, go right, but how about not only if we're going to use something that not only if we're going to try to write and recreate something that is from the 80s, how about if you guys would actually use something that is actually really from the 80s? And that's how it started. And then he played us the recording of Like a Bee to the Honey with him and Paul, you know, and okay, and we were like, okay, is this song actually really? And you know, and for, you know, Kiss fans, it's to hear a song that nobody else has heard before. Yeah. Like, what? And then to be offered with that song, and is Paul okay with that? And Paul is fine with that. And I met Paul actually 3 times after that. And, you know, we were talking about the song with Paul briefly, but anyways, and yay. And, you know, so, yeah. So, I mean, so that was my first contact with Jean Beauvoir.
Right.
There.
Okay.
And ever since, I mean, we became like, we really clicked, you know, already then, and we've been in contact like, well, weekly, you know, with him.
Right.
You know, I think I just got a text message from him last night. The only problem, of course, is the time difference, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in fucking Finland, he's in Miami, or at least in Florida. So, whenever we try to call each other or text each other, the other one is most likely asleep, you know, and or something else. Yeah, but I mean, that's the you know, that's the thing. And I mean, he is a fucking great guy. So we really became friends really quickly with him, because I mean, we have there's something similar with our, you know, wavelengths. There's something very similar, and we definitely think alike on what's a good melody and what sounds. I mean, come on. I mean, if you think about Closing a Circle, he's the guy who wrote Thrills in the Night with Paul. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And that is the song. Thrills in the Night is actually Would You Love a Monster Man? You know, that is the song. I was playing Thrills in the Night and jamming that, and I was I started changing that until it became Would You Love a Monster Man. Right. So without Thrills in the Night, there wouldn't be Would You Love a Monster Man. That's the thing.
Of course, traditionally, with every Lordi album, there has to be an SCG track, but this time around, they were numerous, and they proved pivotal to the structure of the record. To begin, Killection starts with a radio jingle which actually features impersonations of legendary rock and metal icons like King Diamond, Ozzy Osbourne, Kronos of Venom, etc., all singing Lordi songs but in their own styles. And these impersonations are actually performed by Carrie Kilgast. Killection's concept was elaborate and creative, and piecing all of these songs together from different eras in a fictional compilation album could become tricky without an interconnecting thread tying it all together. That needle and thread came in the form of Ralph Ruiz, this time performing as Rockin' Ruiz, a radio host, playing these tracks from Killection on his radio show.
And I always deliver the holy grail of the Monster Squad catalog, the rumored lost recordings from the album that never was. I know a lot of us have the third and fourth generation.
Tracy and Mr. Lordi, we were sitting in Tracy's studio coming up with ideas on, what to say. And once again, this was all broken up. So of course it was going to be SCG-10. So we kind of went with the radio jingles that you would hear. You're listening to Radio SCG-10 Rock. So we went for that. And my whole idea for the DJ Ruiz character, wanted to try to sound him kind of a little crazy and a little over the top. So I took the idea. There used to be a radio DJ who was famous in the 70s and early 80s in the United States. His name was Wolfman Jack. And his was, hey, everybody, this is Wolfman Jack. Oh, yeah, and we're going to come to you, and I'm going to play you this song, baby. He did stuff like that. So that was my idea of kind of going with that. But also, I think it was 1986 or 1987, the movie Trick or Treat, which was had Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons was in it as a radio DJ. So I used his character he had like a big, hat, like a cowboy hat kind of deal. So that was my idea of using my hat, which I've used for quite a few things. It's a black hat with a motorhead lapel pin and a skull keychain around it. So that was my look. And that's where I based the Mad Rager DJ Rockin' Ruiz. Was going to be this guy. Oh, yeah, this is the Mad Rager Rockin' Ruiz. So that's where that came from.
On the 31st of January 2020, with Killection now fully pieced together, the album released. And with every Lordi album, much like all bands, they went on their European Collect tour. But that didn't quite go to plan. Like everybody's plans for 2020, they were halted by the coronavirus pandemic. And Lordi then were forced to cut their tour short. And they returned to Finland, where they quarantined. But Lordi didn't relax much during this time, as they took part in this documentary series. They hosted a live streaming event called the Scream Stream, which was painstakingly put together and was highly detailed and highly entertaining for fans. But also, a new Lordi record would soon be underway. A follow-up in some ways to Killection, but much more expansive. Lordiversity would of course be that insane follow-up. 7 albums covering 7 different rock and metal genres, all releasing as one kick-ass package on November 26th. That's this Friday. But that doesn't mean that this podcast ends. Instead, we've got 7 exclusive interviews releasing daily all next week, starting Monday the 29th. And we'll talk to Tracy Lipp, Janne Halmkrona, Ralph Ruiz, Mana, Hella, HIISI, and of course, Mr. Lordi for 3.5 hours. That is all about this, and it's all raw, and it's all exclusive to you. So enjoy the Lordiversity this Friday, and I'll see you next week as we dive into the diversity of Lordiversity.
MONSTARS of Rock, the Lordi Story, is a true metal podcast production. The show is presented, produced and written by Matthew Kessie. Head to True Metal Pod's social channels to keep up to date with the production.